The set of Today with Jenna and Friends was buzzing with excitement that morning, the audience eagerly awaiting Kylie Kelce, wife of NFL star Jason Kelce, had recently become a media favorite for her candid interviews and down-to-earth humor. Jenna Bush Hager introduced her warmly, calling her the ultimate sports wife who keeps it real. Kylie smiled politely as she walked on stage, but there was a flicker of guardedness in her eyes. Backstage chatter hinted that producers had prepped Jenna to bring up a controversial podcast episode where Kylie had spoken bluntly about NFL culture, sparking online debates. At first, the conversation was light, fun stories about the Kelce family, holiday plans, and the chaos of raising kids. But when Jenna casually asked, "So, any regrets about the things you said on that podcast?" the air shifted. Smile tightened. "Regrets? Not exactly," she said, her voice even but edged. The audience laughed uncertainly, sensing the undertone. Jenna, perhaps thinking she was just leaning into a bit of playful tension, pressed further. "Well, you really stirred up some drama, especially with the wives of other players. Do you feel like you owe anyone an apology?" Kylie's eyebrows lifted, and she let out a short, incredulous laugh. "An apology for telling the truth?" The crowd reacted with a mix of gasps and chuckles, unsure whether they were witnessing a bit or a brewing conflict. Jenna shifted in her seat, her usual easy charm slightly faltering. "I just mean, some people took it personally." Kylie interrupted gently but firmly. "That's their choice. I'm not here to sugarcoat things for public image." The weight in her tone made it clear this wasn't going to be a fluff segment anymore. Trying to regain control of the moment. Jenna pivoted to a pre-planned segment about family holiday traditions, but Kylie wasn't fully playing along. When Jenna asked about decorating for Christmas, Kylie quipped, "Yeah, if we're not dealing with media drama by then." The crowd laughed awkwardly, sensing the barb aimed at the current conversation. Jenna smiled tightly, clearly deciding whether to keep things friendly or lean into the real tension. "Kylie, I think our viewers love you because you're so unfiltered, but sometimes unfiltered gets you into hot water." Kylie leaned forward, eyes steady. "Jenna, people get into hot water when they're afraid of the truth. I'm not afraid of it." The exchange landed heavily, the fun talk show vibe slipping further away with each passing moment. The producers, watching from the wings, signaled for Jenna to move on to the next topic, but she hesitated. Part of her knew that this kind of raw, unscripted moment could drive ratings. Jenna said slowly, "I've been in this business a long time, and sometimes it's better to keep certain opinions private." Kylie's expression sharpened. "That's the difference between us. Jenna, I didn't come here to play it safe. I came here to be honest." The audience murmured, some nodding, others shifting uncomfortably. Jenna tried to laugh it off, but her voice lacked its usual ease. "Well, honesty is great until it burns bridges." Kylie smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. If a bridge can't handle honesty, maybe it's not worth keeping. The tension was now unmistakable. A low ripple of ooze moved through the audience. Jenna, sensing she was losing the warm, cooperative energy of the segment, attempted to steer into a lighthearted game they'd prepared. "All right, let's do a quick round of holiday hot takes. Just fun, silly opinions," she announced, holding up cards. Kylie humored the first couple of questions, but when Jenna read one that said, "The one family member you'd uninvite from dinner," Kylie smirked and said, "Well, I think that's obvious after this conversation." The room erupted in nervous laughter, but the jab was clear. Jenna froze for a split second before forcing a laugh. The producers frantically signaled for a break, but Jenna pressed through, trying to keep the segment alive. At this point, Kylie sat back in her chair, crossing her arms. Her body language spoke volumes. This wasn't banter, it was a standoff. Jenna took a breath. "Kylie, I hope you know this is all in good fun." Kylie tilted her head. "Fun for who?" The question landed like a dart. The audience's nervous laughter faded into complete silence. Jenna's co-host shifted uncomfortably, sensing the balance of the segment was beyond saving. Kylie glanced briefly toward the wings, as if debating her next move. Jenna, still smiling for the cameras, said, "We'd love for you to stick around." For our next segment on holiday recipes, Kylie gave a dry laugh. I think I'm done cooking for today. Asterisk, without another word, Kylie uncrossed her legs, stood up, and adjusted her jacket. The audience collectively gasped, the sound almost louder than any applause. Jenna, caught off guard, tried to interject. Kylie, wait, but Kylie shook her head gently, not in anger, but in finality. I'm all good, Jenna. Thanks for having me. She turned and began walking toward the side of the stage. The cameras, sensing a viral moment in progress, tracked her exit in a wide shot, capturing the stunned expression on Jenna's face. The crowd's reaction was split. Some applauded in support of Kylie's boldness. Others looked genuinely shocked. Asterisk 8. Backstage, Kylie was met by producers, scrambling to do damage control. Do you want to cool off and come back out for the last 5 minutes? One asked. Kylie simply said, no. I've said what I needed to say. Meanwhile, Jenna remained on stage, visibly shaken but determined to keep the show moving. Well, folks, she said with a wry smile, sometimes live TV is more live than you expect. The audience gave a polite laugh, though the tension still hung in the air. The next segment, meant to be a cheerful cooking demonstration, felt hollow, the shadow of the walkout looming over every moment. Asterisk, by the time the episode wrapped, clips of Kylie's exit were already circulating online. Twitter lit up with hashtags like hashtag KylieKelce, walkout, and hashtag Today Show drama. Some fans praised her for standing up for herself, while others criticized her for storming off over a harmless question. Entertainment sites wasted no time compiling the complete timeline of Kylie versus Jenna articles, complete with slowed-down footage and expert commentary on their body language. Jenna's team issued a short statement calling Kylie a wonderful guest and expressing hope to welcome her back anytime. But insiders knew the offer was more about optics than sincerity. Asterisk, Kylie stayed silent publicly for the rest of the day, but privately, she texted friends that she had no regrets. I'm not going to sit there and be patronized, she wrote to one confidant. By evening, the story had made the rounds on every major talk show and sports network, with Jason Kelce himself being asked about it during a post-practice interview. My wife's a strong woman, he said simply, refusing to elaborate. As the headlines continued to multiply, both Kylie and Jenna knew this wasn't just a one-day story. Whether they liked it or not, their clash had just become part of the ever-growing archive of unforgettable live TV moments, one that audiences would be replaying, dissecting, and debating for years. Jenna was already trying to steer the conversation to something lighter, but Kylie clearly wasn't ready to let go. She kept pressing, saying she was tired of the media twisting her words just to create a headline. The studio audience went from gasps to nervous whispers, and a few people even pulled out their phones to record the moment. Jenna kept a polite smile, but there was a sharpness in her tone when she finally said, "Are you here to have a conversation or to accuse us?" That only poured gasoline on the fire. Kylie leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms, and the tension in the air was impossible to ignore. Jenna tried to remind everyone that the show was about friendship and positivity, but Kylie countered that positivity was too often used as a shield to avoid real, uncomfortable topics. The audience was so silent, you could hear the faint hum of the cameras. One of the operators zoomed in on Jenna's face. Her smile was tight, and her fingers nervously shuffled the cue cards she knew she could no longer use. The atmosphere had shifted from friendly banter to a full-blown verbal standoff. Back. I'm here to set the record straight. In an attempt to regain control, Jenna pivoted to a question about Kylie's family, but that backfired instantly. Kylie cut her off sharply. Don't change the subject just because you're uncomfortable. The crowd gasped audibly, and even the co-hosts in the background looked stunned. The moment felt like slow motion. The cameras stayed locked on Kylie as she stood up from her chair. If you're not ready for an honest conversation, then what's the point of this? She said, before starting to walk toward the exit. The live broadcast was suddenly in chaos. The director behind the scenes frantically waved to the camera crew, unsure whether to follow Kylie leaving or stay on. Jenna's shocked expression. Social media exploded in real time, with viewers clipping the clash for TikTok and X, attaching captions like Kylie Kelce blows up live on air and most awkward Today Show moment ever. Jenna, now facing an empty chair, gave a strained laugh and said, "Well, I guess we're taking an early break," but her voice carried an edge that betrayed her.